All right, welcome back. How you doing? I hope everyone is doing well. So I just got finished watching all the AJ clips, and I didn't watch the fight live, but I've watched the highlights and I've watched all the interviews, and I'm beginning to wonder if what's happened to AJ is just completely irreversible.
Boxing.
Okay, shout out to all the subscribers. Thank you for watching. As always, shout out to anybody new locked in. So yeah, AJ, right. I mean, I granted, I'm not going to talk about the fight that much. I will a little bit because, you know, I wasn't able to watch it live, as I said, but watching the highlights, you can't really get a full understanding. I didn't hear what the corner was saying, stuff like that. So I'll catch up in it in time, and, you know, maybe have a later assessment for his next fight. Whatever that will be, we'll get into that video later, because it just, this guy, I mean, first of all, let's cover the fight, because obviously, look, I thought he looked okay when I watched the highlights a couple of times, and I was like, all right, he looked all right. He's got a new style. He's just, people are just expecting him to go and knock people out now. That's not going to happen anymore. He's not doing that. And look, as a fighter, it's okay. It's good to reinvent yourself, per se, and just discover a more advanced, more thinking style, which is what he's trying to do. He's just trying to be more cautious and box and use his mind more than his aggression. But, you know, his aggression and his confidence have deserted him, to be honest. So, and it just, this thinking style of him, it, like I've referred it to, you know, like a computer when it's about to that, you know, that Mac ball that comes up. He's like that at the moment. It's not comfortable. He's not relaxed at all, and, you know, obviously he's massively tentative, and I don't know if it was better or worse than the Franklin fight. I think the threat of Helenius' power and the size of the man, and he was a little awkward too. You know, he has a weird style, which AJ got the job done at the end of the day. You know, he did what he had to do, essentially got a knockout that would have probably done the world of good for him in terms of his confidence. But is that just going to mask everything else? Because, again, more strange behavior in his post-fight, immediately after the fight, post-fight interviews after that as well. It was just all a bit awkward. Seems like someone that's not comfortable in his own skin, to be honest. I was just expecting, you know, just a normal, like, I don't know why I was expecting that, because he's been doing some off-key things. I thought when he had that meltdown after Usyk, that was just like a weight off his shoulders, and he got that out, and, you know, he was just like, he could just relax again. But it's just awkward watching it now, you know, like the IFL interview, I watched that, and he's doing this weird Godfather, like, trumpet sounds with his mouth. It was just weird to watch for me. I don't know. I'm just like, bro, just do an interview where you're just being normal. Doesn't sound confident about any of the fights. You know, I was just like thinking, maybe it's just worth sticking him in there with Wilder now and cashing out, because I just can't see, like, maybe he could improve on, like, you know, like with Derek James, and like his footwork was okay today. He looked okay, but he's a massive work in progress, and this new style he's adopting, you know, that's not going to bode well against Deontay Wilder. Look, in the fight against Helenius, he was obviously getting hit with jabs. Okay, what follows a jab with Deontay Wilder? And Wilder, when he steps in with that jab, he doesn't often even land the jab. He's so quick with that right hand behind it, and you know, Helenius was in the mid-range quite a bit and jabbing. Wilder is going to be able to land that right hand. If he fights Wilder like that, well, he probably won't, but if he does, at some point Wilder's going to connect and knock him out, because he's never not landed on his opponents, right? Wilder's always either knocked his opponents out or hurt them. The only one you could say he hasn't is in the Fury 2. And even then, if you watch the first round, there were a couple of very close shots. And I think Fury even said after the fight that he caught him with something in the first or second round. I'll try and pull the clip up if I can. But Wilder lands. It's as simple as that. And obviously, look, you could say AJ could land on Wilder, but Wilder also gets up, and he's got more heart, way more heart, and he's got more will, and it takes a lot to get rid of Wilder, as we've seen. I mean, he's he is a tough dude, and you know that from AJ, that like what's happened, what damage has been done to him, I think at this point is irreversible. Hence the title of this thumbnail, because I've been really in admiration of AJ on his, you know, journey to coming back and being at the top of the tree again. And I wasn't sure about him getting to the world title, but I did think he would come back and, you know, be in the top mix again with these heavyweights and maybe even beat Wilder. But this, you know, it's not necessarily just the performance, it's his behavior after it, and it's his body language during the fight as well. I watched a quick clip of the Joseph Parker fight just to see his demeanor, and I know Joseph Parker wasn't the same threat as Helenius in terms of power, but he was still a world champion. He still had a bit of pop, and he was still a good fighter back then. He was a world champ when AJ fought him, I think. And you know, obviously dimensions were different, but AJ just looked a bit more calm, a bit more relaxed, and just more belief in it. He doesn't believe in himself as much anymore, or even if anything. And obviously he took that massive beating from Ruiz. You know, people speculate whether the Klitschko fight took it out of him as well. And then, you know, obviously the rumors about getting knocked out in sparring and stuff like that. I mean, he's got some irreversible damage, whether it be psychological or neurological, or perhaps both. You know, like it's weird to see, but you know, the performance. If you're watching that and you didn't know who he was, and you would just say to someone that was a casual fan, you say, this guy was like once the unified champion of the world, sold out, packed out stadiums, he was the best heavyweight in the world, one of the best heavyweights in the world a few years ago, you'd say, what? No way. And but you know, he's getting the wins in, and he's only lost 3 or 4 rounds really, and he's getting the rounds in. You know, and he's got that knockout, which, you know, obviously he knocked Pulev out in between the rehabilitation before Usyk, but it's just his demeanor after the fights, and he's still the public are still living rent free in his head. He is so concerned about what they're thinking. Actually, on the same note, with the irony of that is, because he does care so much about what people think and do, he's actually doing quite a good job of not trying to knock people out. Whether it's because he's too scared to get knocked out himself, I don't know. But usually when you do care about people and you care what they think and all that, you just, you know, you try and do what they try to appease them by knocking somebody out. And I know he knocked Helenius out, I just mean to try and entertain and appease the fans, but he's doing a good job of sticking to a game plan and listening to his coach, which says a lot really, because, you know, he does care so much about what people think about him. It's so weird, you know. I don't really understand that now, you know. It's like, but I would have thought he'd have let that go a long time ago. But obviously not. And just the cringe-worthy interviews. I mean, it's just cringe. I was almost couldn't watch the IFL interview. The intro of it was just this. All right, mate. Yeah, it's not funny, and it's not cool, and it's not anything. It's just weird. And just get on with. You know, he used to be. He's always been quite self-critical, I think, and he's always wanted to improve, and just say that. Just go, yeah, no, I could have done better here. We're going to get back to a draw, but I can't wait to go back to Texas. We're going to get this going, and I'm going to see the best version of me. But it's just this muffled disbelief, disingenuous a little bit, you know. It's, I mean, he's just not comfortable in his own skin, you know. That's the take I have. And, you know, Eddie Hearn doesn't sound as confident anymore about the Wilder fight. And it's like, what do you, like, realistically, I think because he is in this irreversible state, should we call it, I just think, like, the longer, like, his brand is I don't know if that would have done it any good or bad. Knocking him probably slightly good, but the performance, obviously there were boos happening. It wasn't a full stadium. Who's he going to fight next before Wilder? Because are you going to put him in with? Well, I didn't actually see the Hrgović fight, but the next fight he's going to have, if it's not Wilder, is going to be one of the most important ones, because you're in danger of losing the brand. I think, because it's usually a knockout saves it, but I don't know if that did. Because people's patience are running out. Even Kugan Cassius was like, we were expecting the old AJ just to come in, and it's like, I think the fans are all expecting that. And yes, they got a knockout, but I just don't know. I don't know if his brand's strong enough to keep people coming back just for a tentative performance with a possible KO. So the matchmaking in the next fight will be paramount. Is he going to get Dillian White back? That's just going to be. I mean, he needs a spicy matchup, really, if he's not going to fight Wilder next. I still think, obviously it's not wise to put him in there with Wilder now, but if you just keep letting him fight, I think his brand is just going to deteriorate, and then the Wilder fight becomes less appealing anyway. Maybe. I don't know. I feel for the guy a little bit, because he's lost his way a bit, do you know what I mean? Mentally, psychologically, neurologically, possibly, even though there wasn't really any signs of that. But you do wonder what's happened to him, because to say he's leery and shy of getting hit would be an understatement, But at the same time, it's impressive how he can stick to a game plan and not get brought into, the crowd that he so cares about as well. I don't know. It's and I was watching the Outmatch. Shout out to you, bro. He was very not optimistic about AJ. Let's just say he was like, he's done basically, and he might be right. But heavyweight boxing could be. It's one of those mystery things that he could easily. Not easily. He could knock Wilder out, because look, let's be honest. And I don't think he will. I think right now Wilder, rightfully so, would be a heavy favourite. But Wilder's only had 2.5 minutes since he got knocked out by Fury. Who knows what kind of damage he's had, and it didn't really show. And he was boxing on the back foot, and he caught Helenius on the back foot, basically. Beautiful shot. Not something we used to see Wilder doing. Not me, fighting off the back foot and getting a knockout. So, how that fight will go it could be a real dull affair if they're both very gun-shy and tentative, but I don't know how Wilder's mental state is, but I think the window for that fight is running out. That's what I'll say. If AJ's talking about 2 or 3 more fights, or some people talking about 3 more fights, I think you're running the risk of damaging his brand, losing the appeal of the Wilder fight, and I don't know. AJ's a mystery right now, Well, let me know your thoughts. What do you think about this? Because it's just, I can't tell what's wrong with him really, other than there might be something neurological, and I say that because I'm gonna talk about something that I went through too, which is why I kind of, if it is neurological, then I get it to a degree, because obviously different situations are totally different. But like, I had a heavy period of just sparring where I took some serious damage, and I ended up in hospital a couple times, and I had massive amount of concussions in the space of a few months. Really, I should not have been boxing after, and my punch resistance was never the same, and I was always I went in there and I was always really a bit edgy, and the minute I got touched I would get hurt, and I was like, I understand. Even Dillian White too, I get it. I've been there, obviously not at all there, but to the point where I could take a punch to then I couldn't take a punch. And it really affects a lot of things. You're not as confident, you're not as aggressive, you're not as gung-ho. You're constantly thinking about that, and it can take over you. And you know, for me, then I just stopped boxing after that, really, like properly sparring, like competitively, because it just I was like, this is dangerous, you know what I mean? I was like in my mid to late 30s, and I was like, well, actually, that wasn't that old. It must have been about 2013 or something like that. I was just like, oh, this is not good. So if AJ's going through that now, and he's getting in there, and he's still sparring with heavyweights, and he's mixing it up with these guys, and he's getting touched in sparring, he's like, maybe he shouldn't be boxing if he's neurologically damaged, you know what I mean? I don't know. But anyway, that's it from me. I have got a documentary coming out that I'm really excited about. Uzbek, the rise of the Uzbeks. I'm working on that. That's going to be the next video out, because it's really an interesting one for me. So I'm going to be working on that hard the next few. I'll be out by the end of the week, hopefully. It's a big project, but I'm really enjoying making it at the moment. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. But for now, have a great week. It's Monday. Hit the week as hard as you can and be the best version of you for this week. That's my ethos on this channel. That's what I'm trying to put across. But until then, have a good one.